LoreWarrior Online, The Crimson Langur. Overview. Though the Blood Spirits had hoped to wall themselves off from the clans after the Great Refusal, the Star Adders escalated raids against the Spirits until the Trials of Possession were threatening the security of York and the morale of Clan Blood Spirit. In order to infuse new spirit into her clan, Khan Schmidt began several programs, one of which was to lead to new Omnimex. As the Spirit's resources have always been low, however, they contacted Kindra McCrease in the hopes of cementing a stronger relationship. The strongly Crusader Kindra was more than willing to help, and a period of co-development and production would ensue. Once completed, the Omnimech was named Crimson Langur to honour the new cooperation between the two clans. Capabilities. With a top speed of almost 120 kph, the Crimson Langur is fast for its size. Mounting 10.5 ton of armour means it can stay in the fight for a long time, and this leaves it with only 15 tons of pod space, however, forcing it to pay dearly for its offensive capabilities. The primary configuration pairs an ER large laser and twin heavy medium lasers with a targeting computer. The Alpha configuration utilises some of the Spirit's preferred weapons, pairing an extended range pair of lasers with two LRM-15s. The Beta configuration mounts jump jets, 3 extended range medium lasers, and an ATM-9. The final configuration pairs an Ultra Class 10 autocannon with a plethora of weapons generally mounted on Protomechs, 4 micropulse lasers, and 4 extended range microlasers. Deployment. Since its debut in 3065, the Crimson Langur has appeared in every cluster of Kindra McCrease, as well as every galaxy within the Blood Spirits. In a move that has shocked many clans, in 3067, Khan Schmidt announced the formation of the Cloud Cobra Ilchi post and presented the Cobras with a star of Crimson Langurs. Given the Cobra's close dealings with the Star Adders, this is a most surprising move. Of course, the assignment of a minor blood-named warrior, Carmen Zadok, to the post is interesting as well. Also, surprisingly, a Crimson Langur has been spotted in the 4th Scorpion Ulans. Whether this was taken in the Trial of Possession as part of a Scorpion dealing with the Cobras or the Mandrels, or, the most shocking possibility, a direct link to the Spirits, is unknown. Clan Blood Spirit, you never catch a break. This is a 50-ton medium. Its chassis is the York XT. York and me mate. Power plant is a 305 XL with a cruise speed of 76 kph and a max speed of 119 kph, with no jump capacity. Its armour is Beta J77, and its armament is 15 tons of pod space, which we'll get into. It's manufactured by the York Y2 facility, or by Kindra McCrease Primary Production Facility. Its communication system is the York Y2 Communications, and its targeting tracking is the York Y5 TNT5. Sorry, I can't. Everything just goes a bit Geordie. Oh, yeah. Bike Grove. Right, this is a mech that translates stats as Walk of 7 and Run of 11 with 10 double heat sinks for a max of 20 heat dissipation. Armour is 9 on the head, 23 on the CT, 8 on the rear, 18 on the side torsos with 6 on the rear, and 16 on the arms and 24 on the legs. We get to the actual configuration here. The primary, which we will be seeing in the artwork in the right arm, is the ER large laser, backed up by the targeting computer being in the right arm as well. The heavy medium laser is in the right torso with 2 extra double heat sinks and a jump jet. Another heavy medium laser in the left torso with another 2 double heat sinks and a jump jet. And then we have the final jump jet in the CT and a light active probe in the CT. So, as you see, it's fairly undergunned for its weight, but as it says, it uses a lot of that maneuverability and armour at the expense. Alternate configuration A is a ER large laser in the right arm and 2 LRM-15s in the left arm with 32 shots of ammunition. The B configuration is an ATM-9 in the right arm with 21 rounds of ammunition, jump jets in the right torso and CT, light active probe in the CT, another jump jet in the left torso, and finally a brace of 3 ER medium lasers in the left arm. And the C configuration is a Ultra 10 in the right arm, 2 micropulse lasers in the right torso, 20 rounds of ammunition for the Ultra in the right torso, 2 more micropulse lasers in the left torso, and finally 4 ER micro lasers in the left arm. This is another design that visually it looks quite squat. It looks like a little mech. It looks more like a power armor than a battle mech. That's my problem with this one. I don't just like the head design. Looks kind of cool. I like the kind of high arched sort of neck back kind of section that gives it kind of a unique profile. I like the way the weapons in the side torsos are sort of shoulder mounted and sort of indented into the mech. Makes it look like it's got a bit of a bracing. The right arm looks pretty, it fits for the size of the machine, for the ER laser to be in there, and then of course it's got a good old battle fist. Legs just look a bit too squat for it. It looks like it would have trouble moving at any decent pace, and considering this is a machine that can run 11 hexes, you can imagine this thing is going to, be traveling. Just stretch it up a bit, just make it a little bit taller, or thin out some of the proportions a bit. I think it'd be fine. As far as an Omni-Mech goes, the background kind of sells some of this idea of Blood Spirit desperately, again, clinging onto some form of existence before it'll eventually just get wiped out. And their continued love affair with the Fire Mandrels, of course. Again, I like the idea that it's a machine that makes sacrifices in certain areas for its tonnage, that has a comparatively low weapons loadout compared to clan mechs, of course. So, I mean, any 50-ton in the Inner Sphere that could mount, an ER large laser at 50-ton jump jets, run that fast, and fire a couple of extra lasers it would be pretty damn rare and good. Sorry. Personally, for me, quite like the A configuration. I'm always a fan of fire support machines, so a pair of LRM-15s and an ER large. It's pretty good for my smooth brain to work with as well, especially thinking about it in a computer game setting as well. If this thing ever rocked up in MechWarrior Online, for instance, or Living Legends, or in, I don't know, some kind of future modded project, that would be the variant I would prefer, obviously. It's nice and simple, allows you to just focus on the role of just dumping missiles onto the target and giving a little bit of laser support at range. But it's not bad for the others. Obviously, jump jets do make it a little bit more viable in some cases. It's interesting that the jumping isn't mentioned on the primary configuration, despite the fact it has jump jets, so it doesn't give you the jump distance. But yeah, I don't know. Stats-wise, it just, for some reason, the book just it doesn't mention it. I don't know why. But yeah, it's decent. It's an Omni-Mech that, again, I think you'd have trouble throwing this against players based in the Inner Sphere, because the Blood Spirits have no dealings with anything in the Inner Sphere at all. They are very much involved just in the clan politics, in clan space. So this is a machine that I think would rarely, if ever, see the light of day in any Inner Sphere territory, unless you had some long convoluted thing with a Diamond Shark trader who has gotten hold of a couple of these things, either through trade or Isola or something like that, and it ends up they sell it to someone in the Inner Sphere or one of the Inner Sphere bound clans, and it ends up being used that way. Maybe it's a bit of a stretch. I mean, I suppose you could come up with a bondsman who was taken along with his mech and ended up, but yeah, unfortunately it's a bit of a stretch. I'm not quite sure how the mech could be there. Obviously, GMs being GMs, if you want to have a Crimson Langur turn up in the Inner Sphere, of course you can. There's nothing saying that you can't, obviously, especially when it's your own game, your own setting, however you want to run it. If you just want to decide that a bunch of these things caught the eye of Ghost Bear and they decided to have a trial of possession for the design, and they got hold of it and started to build their own, and there's a bunch of these things on the border with the Curitans, for instance. That's obviously something you can do. And just thinking within the pre-established write-up, I think it'd be kind of hard to justify. Obviously, not as much of a problem if you're running a clan-centric game where you could be playing Blood Spirit, could be playing Fire Mandrels, or one of the snake-based clans, and you end up coming up against this machine. But yeah, it's so, I always find it interesting. It's one of those problems I have with the initial creation of the clans, is there's just so many of them, and for a long time, most of the clans just don't get anything to do. They're just kind of there with very little interest. I mean, up until the Great Refusal, there isn't a hell of a lot going on with the other clans. They're all just kind of sat there, their thumb up their ass, just whistling, waiting for something to happen narratively for them. And I guess that's why they slowly started to get rid of some of the clans and have others move out. Obviously, eventually they drag some of the others into the Inner Sphere, like Ice Hellion, and obviously they do a bit more with Hell's Horses and Steel Viper and stuff. Meanwhile, Cloud Cobra and and Star Adder end up forming a union thing, and they become the most dominant group in clan space, and Goliath Scorpion fuck off somewhere else. The Coyotes just become weapons manufacturers, and all that kind of stuff happens, and obviously Nova Cat eventually get wiped out, and now Smoke Jaguar's back, and I don't know, it's all just weird. It just feels like if there'd been less clans initially, that they still could have had that divide, but it would have been less messy with the writing of trying to come up with stuff for them all to do. A bit like wrestling, where you got a big roster of wrestlers, but if you're trying to book them, you're just trying to think, okay, I've got these ones that I like and they're popular with the fans, but these people are also quite talented, but I don't know what to do with them. Let's just throw in a bunch of dark matches or something. Hey, they're getting work. It doesn't really work. That's why the Inner Sphere, I think, worked quite well, because it's 5 great houses. Later on, for a temporary time, 6. And you have that kind of power play between them, and then you've got some of the periphery states, which I personally think the periphery doesn't get enough writing, but there's stuff going on. It's enough, it works, they're all interconnected, they have little bits and pieces, you can use them all. But the clans is, because of the distance and stuff, you can't just have every, remaining clan, like 18 clans jump in and attack everybody at once. That's kind of ridiculous, so... Yeah, it's just one of those things. Anyway, I've gone off a completely different ramble here. Have a good one all. Thanks for listening. As always, I'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.